What's up, Twins fans? Thanks so much for clicking on this video. We're going to talk more about this payroll situation for the Twins. Going to add some context, maybe make things more concrete in terms of what they're working with. But before we do that, I do want to point out, I'm not trying to justify this in any way. I'm upset about this. I'm not happy that the payroll is going to go down. I don't think it's justified. Obviously there's a lot of uncertainty with the TV contract. I understand that's the reality of the situation, but that's a you problem, not a me problem, is the way I look at it, right? Like, as Twins fans, we showed out, man. We showed out in the postseason. We lost our minds. We went to the games. The fan base is here, and the fan base is passionate, and you can make money off of us. Figure it out. That's a you problem. If you can't figure out how to make tens of millions or potentially $100 million off your TV contract or whatever, that ain't on us. That's on you. So figure it out. But this is the reality of the situation. This is from some reporting from Dan Hayes of The Athletic. Among others, yesterday, Dan had kind of the big number, but a lot of people reported the comments from Falvey about the payroll dropping. I want to wrap this up and explain what that looks like, which Falvey kind of tried to touch on some of these topics I'm going to touch on, but I think laying it out and looking at it and seeing all the numbers, it makes a lot more sense. So let's get into that. So again, in case you missed it, reportedly the Twins are looking at a payroll between 140 and 125 million. Very big range too. That's another thing I thought was very weird. That's like that is a big range that we're talking about here. But anyway, that's a drop from this year's team of $29 to $14 million. So I think, and one of the reasons why I'm motivated to sort of clarify some things is because some people kind of assumed that meant the Twins are going to have to slice that off of, guys we're projecting to be on the roster next year. Actually, kind of the convenient thing, I suppose, is a way you could put it, is the Twins have quite a bit of money coming off the books. So you see down below there, I have the Twins free agents listed on their 2023 salary. So all of that money from that $154 million number won't be there for next year. So that's almost $45 million that's coming off the books with those players. So Derek Falvey kind of tried to point that out, but I think having that laid out makes a little bit more sense. So now what are we talking about then? This is from Roster Resource, which is a great thing that's available on Fangraphs now. Jason R.R. Martinez manages all this. It's just really helpful. Tons of information on there. And one of the things he has is an estimated 2024 payroll for the Twins. He has that listed at 125. So the main point I want to stress is that the Twins, with this budget constraint that they're putting on themselves, could literally bring back everybody else other than those free agents. Not have to slice any other payroll, not have to get anybody else off the roster, make any other moves to make it work, and they would be within even the low range of that payroll. So I saw some I wanted to clarify that because I saw some comments and people kind of assuming that there was going to be some kind of a big fire sale needed to get to that mark. That's not the case, thankfully. And then the players in that lower box there are the Twins arbitration eligibles, which at this time, Roster Resource is factoring them all into that number. But I think I'm very confident that the Twins, with this budget constraint especially, aren't going to be interested in paying Kyle Farmer $6.6 million for next year. Nothing against Kyle Farmer. Love the guy. Was a key depth guy, was a key clubhouse guy. But if they're going to limit the budget to that degree, I don't think they're going to want to pay a backup utility infielder $6.6 million. So they'll either non-tender him or trade him, and it's going to be, a low-level, not exciting prospect that would come back in a trade for him, but to clear that money. So then after that, we're looking at about $119 million is what would be the estimated payroll. So, the Twins still have some room. And we take a look at the arbitration guys and their projected salaries. Here are the guys who are under contract. Should mention that Dobnak also is in this too, but was listed in a different area on Roster Resource. So I don't think that the Twins are having to clear Polanco or Kepler's salary. With Vasquez, I don't think he's going to get traded because I don't think his trade value is so low. I think he's more valuable to the Twins. There's a lot of things that he brings to the table. I think a lot of people are down on Vasquez because he didn't hit last year. A lot of other things he does really well. I think it's reasonable to expect him to hit a little bit better next year. Anyway, we're not going to do a whole video on him. But I'm not saying Polanco or Kepler won't get traded. They might get traded. But I think if they do, it's going to be a baseball move. It's not going to be a salary clearing move. They're going to trade those guys to get pieces that make more sense, that are more valuable to the team in 2024, rather than just payroll motivation. So at the end of the day, what are we saying? Again, I want to stress that I'm not trying to justify a payroll cut. But I think both of these statements are true, and one of them is a lot scarier than the other. What we got was between $14 and $25 million is being cut from payroll from this season to next season. That sounds scary. But the reality of the situation is the Twins, even with that cut, the Twins are still going to have between $6 and $21 million in the spending money this offseason. Again, such a big range. It seems weird they don't have a more... that's another. I'm taking these reports with a bit of a grain of salt. Not to doubt the sources, not to doubt the report. Somebody inside the team told Dan Hayes that, but it just seems like when the range is this big, they're still working things out. They don't have a concrete number. When there's a $15 million wiggle room, that tells me they're still working things out with the budget. But we'll take that as it is. And with that being the number, they still have between $6 and $21 million to add this offseason. Again, I think that's disappointing. I would hope that they would have added some. Again, we showed up. The team showed up. The fans showed up. There should be motivation to continue to invest in this team. So, in my opinion, the budget for this offseason should have been more like $40 million in terms of adding. But this, when you put it this way, that the Twins have between $6 and $21 million, to spend, that's less scary. That seems more reasonable. So I just kind of wanted to lay things out in that way. And the purpose is, once again, not to kind of defend the idea of cutting payroll, but to kind of contextualize this and say, from a baseball perspective, the Twins can still build a really good team. With this being the case, the Twins are going to be the AL Central favorites. There is also, this isn't the only time you have to add talent. There is also the trade deadline. So maybe, the Twins are more active at the trade deadline again. I don't know. Who knows? There's a lot of other ways to add talent is the main point there. But hopefully this helped kind of make things